On day 3, we're going to be spending time looking around Eureka Springs and then driving to Branson, Missouri. We'll be looking at this part of our trip. When we get up in the morning, we go out and look around the safari camp and see what we can see. And then in the distance, there's the lions roaring. Then it's time to leave Turpentine Creek permanently and head to Eureka Springs. Soon we're driving into downtown Eureka Springs. There's not a whole lot there, maybe 4 or 5 blocks along one street. For the next few hours, we're going to be exploring and shopping. The dot shows where we're at right now in the center of the city on Spring Street, and there's Basin Springs, one of the major springs along Spring Street. We are definitely in the hills, and there's lots of up and downs. There's also old bathhouses and other things to look at. Down there is Stairstep Town. You had to go down the stair steps to get to it because it was a lower town. And that looks like Humpty Dumpty just sitting around. Some of the stores required masks and some did not. This is a painting of the first 100 years of Eureka Springs, and there's many other pieces of art painted on the walls all around. And now it's time to leave downtown and head out to Christ of the Ozarks at the Passion Play. Soon we're arriving at the Great Passion Play and driving through the center of the area there. We're going to be going to the backside where we'll be able to see Christ of the Ozarks. This is the largest freestanding statue of Jesus in the world. We bought a shuttle tour for the afternoon, so it's time to head there. And it'll be marked in the pink on this map. Tim Garrison will be our guide. And this is the tram. We get on and he'll do most of the talking.
When the Native American people owned this country, I don't like that word occupied, nobody claimed this spot. Nobody lived right here. Everybody could bring their sick and their wounded here and treat them with healing spring water. The tribes were removed from here between 1828 and 1832. We became a state in the Union in 1836 with Dr. Alva Jackson. He had heard about the healing spring and he wanted to find the thing and use the water for his own patients. Through a diligent search and plain dumb luck, Dr. Jackson was able to relocate the healing spring and he began to treat people with nothing more than spring water. He was doing a tremendous job and had a huge business going. Dr. Jackson declared that once again this would be neutral ground and he treated both sides impartially. Well, when that terrible war was completely over, the veterans went home, and it was mostly northern veterans that done it. Told their friends and their family, if you want to feel better, get up in the hills, find the doctor, drink the spring water, it'll help. By the 1890 census, we had over 17,000 people living right here in the town and around the edges. And that was as good as it would ever get. By the 1920s, we had less than 1,000 people here. We was in trouble, we knew it. Two things saved us. They were coinciding. The state of Arkansas finally realized they'd given South Arkansas all of the good roads they could use. They didn't have room for any more. They gave us one better road, count one. It wasn't good, but it was better. But what really saved us was a fellow in Detroit City who in 1912 figured out how to mass produce something called the Model T Ford. Henry Ford changed America. He put us on wheels. And for the first time in recorded history, the middle class could travel for fun and pleasure. What were they called again? Does anybody remember? Oh, tourists. Tourists. And if you could go the whole hog and take the grand tour, you wanted to stay in the newfangled tourist cabins like these on the left. These are not the first here in town, but they're some of the early ones. They're still in business, by the way. You can rent one of those. What fascinates me is the building material. Technically, that's called Mississippian chert, commonly called flint rock. These stones are difficult. Back up ahead of us here on the left, the next house is flagstone in nature. Those are native stones stacked one on top of the other, but they're not laying flat, they're standing on edge. That takes skill to do that. That's the best example of that I've ever seen in my life. Like this big one here on the right. This was built in 1893. That puts it in the late Victorian period. When they start to paint just the porch, it'll take them 2.5 to 3 weeks to do it with all that detail work that they have to do. Folks, we got a lot of beautiful things here, but flat ground ain't one of them. Therefore, if you build, you want to deal with a hillside, either down, up, or both. Many of these places split level. Before we knew what split level meant. Like this yellow one here on the left. You got a floor down there that opens on to that parking lot. Another floor up here that opens onto this sidewalk and street. The way the hill falls back behind, there's a third floor down there. That's a 3-story structure, and each floor is a ground floor. That's how we do it. Oh, wait a minute. Pig alert. Love you, Dave. Cowboy pig today. That pig loves to dress up because he's a big ham. I mentioned time, effort, love, and money. Look at this next one here on the left. They worked on that for 3 solid years. They did everything but the wiring and the plumbing. It was a basket case when they started, and it's bed and breakfast now. Business district up here at one time. The little building here on the left was a Texaco gas station. Pumps set out here on either side of that brickwork. I want you to look down the side of the building, please, at those door handles. In keeping with the petroleum theme, those are antique gas nozzles. And nobody yet has stolen the pedal car. They will one of these days, hanging over the side. While you're out there. I don't know what that word means exactly, but it sure sounds good right there, doesn't it? I'll show you what started the Renaissance on this street, first business. Here on the left, there's Remilio's Fine Italian Dining, which was built in 1889. It was so rotted out, when they got underneath it, it nearly fell on them. The only thing new there is that garage. Boy, they've done beautiful work. Now, when we get a great big snow here of 2 or 3 inches, it shuts the school down. It ought to. These streets are not compatible with ice and snow. Us boys loved it. We would go sledding, and this is wonderful sledding country. There's one hill up here we all had to go down at least once to prove our stupidity. No, that ain't it. Our courage, manhood, rite of passage. Howell, Howell. And it's coming up on the right-hand side up here, just past the fire plug that we're about to come to, and it's going to take off. And I do mean take off. There it goes, where that car is coming up.
See that now?
I'll tell you one thing, once you started down that thing, you were committed. Now, there was no turning back. I'll show you the bottom of that. This was the Dr. C.F. Ellis home. He was a prominent position here before 1900.
One of the landmarks here is the Crescent Hotel, built in 1884 at the cost of $300,000 by General Powell Clayton.
All part of the hotel complex. In a normal year, they'll do 300 weddings here a year. This ain't been a normal year. Yeah, they'll do them either out here in the garden under that gazebo, around back, or inside. And they are professional, consummate professionals of what they do. The hotel is haunted. It is certifiably haunted. You may wonder how you certify ghosts. Thank you for asking. Ghost Hunters was here. Highest secular authority in the land. You should never doubt anything they tell you. They did a lot of nights filming here and got a lot of strange and unusual things. In 1946, the hotel fell on hard times. It was in bankruptcy. Worst year of the Depression for us here. And it was sold to a fellow named Dr. Baker. Dr. Baker claimed in 1936 he had the absolute guaranteed cure for cancer without surgery, x-rays, or chemo. Now what's wrong with that picture? No, Dr. Baker, you didn't have it. We don't have it now. But for the next 2 years out of that old building, he ran the Dr. Norman Baker Cancer Curable Hospital and Health Resort and cheated people out of $500,000. Once again, the Ellis home, you can get into more detail. If someone had told me that color scheme would work, I'd have never believed it. But it is beautiful. Also, I want young people to know that house was built before electricity with hand tools by hand. Men that were better men than I'll ever be did that. The stone wall is a good example of dry stack construction. The mortar's just placed there to make it look a little better. But I'll tell you, the next slab of wall you're going to see wasn't so good. It's concrete here. That wall fell down 4 years ago and the owner had to fix it. This one fell down 2 years ago. The city fixed that one. You want to come back 4 or 5 years, that's going to be laying out here in the road. Let's look ahead of us, and it'll be to the left as we corner. There's a log structure, the center of which was not there when it was built. That was totally open. And the trolleys and the mules went right through the middle of that building, and that's where they were housed overnight out back. Now City Park. Well, looks like we're going to make this corner all right. We're leaving Ellis Grade over there somewhere, I don't know where. We've turned onto the bench of this mountain, and if that's a term you do not understand, let me see if I can help you. You are sitting on a bench, all right? We are now riding on this bench, and this is a natural geological formation. The bench you're sitting on, the back's, of course, behind you. And the back to this bench of the mountain will be to our right. Now there are 6 springs that come out on this bench level, therefore, this is Spring Street. Parking lot here on the right, what they did with picks and shovels, just dug out dirt and it came to that natural stone wall. No quarry marks on that, that's how it appeared below ground. That's the back of the bench. The parking lot in the street, on the seat of the bench. Looking over here on the other side, here on the left, that home was inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright. I don't think he designed it. Over here on the right, welcome to Grotto Springs. Grotto means shallow cave. You have an opportunity to go underground and see what it looks like.
We're able to get off the tram for a while and look at the Grotto Springs.
The next house is a Claude Albert Fuller home, same side. Out there in the side yard is a well pump, and that's sitting over what is called a dug well. They made a circle in the ground with picks and shovels. They dug down till they struck water. Generally, it's not more than 20 or 25 feet here. Now, the next house is the first Victorian, real Victorian. I want to show you this little building is a brick home. Those are handmade brick. The clay works are out north of town. For the University of Arkansas, you'll never see a smaller Victorian with more gingerbread gables or trim than that little house, which you just love to paint it. The attic flooding, ground floor here, and 3 under that. That's a 5-story usable structure. And that is the way it will stay all the way down through town. If you want to paint anything the color of this gazebo on the right, I will never know. It makes me dizzy just to look at it. That is the Crescent Spring. I do hope someday I can look at that excellent stone. This big place is the Piedmont House. That is the oldest place of lodging here in town. That was built in 1880. Never been anything else but lodging. There was a place for no-frills public bathing down on the lower floor, and it cost you a nickel to take a hot bath in the middle of the summer. And the bathhouse got their water for free. All the buildings on either side of this street are replacement buildings. None of these are originals. The original buildings were all built with green pitch pine. Therefore, if one of them got on fire, they all burn. Here, keep that vicious dog under control. Anyway, they not only burned one time, they burned 4 different times. Then the city fathers, somebody had an epiphany, or somebody told them in real simple words, wood burns. They passed an ordinance down in here that you had to build with brick and stone. None of these buildings are built any earlier than 1888. On the left, over the other side of that iron bridge, is the oldest bathhouse in town, the Mason Spring Bathhouse.
Now it's time to head out to the Great Passion Play, where we'll look around at a few of the sights there, and then catch the play. Our first stop will be the petting zoo and the market. Then we'll move over to the Bible Museum and gift shop, the Sacred Arts Museum, eat at the buffet, and then go see the play. Let's get started. Deborah has to feed the goats and sheep, and they're all raring and ready to go. Next we go look at the displays in the Bible Museum. And then we move on over to the Sacred Arts Center, where we see all different kinds of carvings and paintings about the biblical life. After eating, it's time to go to the Passion Play,
including his
and we'll just
crucifixion,
let it play.
resurrection, and ascension into heaven.
You, Lord, I believe you are the Messiah, the Son of God.
Take the stone away.
Lord, he has been here 4 days.
Jesus is coming. It is Jesus the prophet, and Lazarus is with him.
Who is this? Who is coming? It is Jesus, the prophet of Nazareth of Galilee. It is the man who raised Lazarus from the dead.
Do you mean me, sir?
Can you not walk without the cane?
No, sir.
Would you like God to heal you?
Oh, yes.
Then you do not need the cane. Throw it away and walk to me.
But, sir.
Come to me.
Sir, what is it, Caiaphas?
Pilate, the charges on his cross read, King of the Jews. Many of the people are reading it. It should say that he only claimed to be the King of the Jews.
What I have written, I have written.
Forgive them. They do not know what they do.
way?
I don't know. Are the guards all right?
They do.
After the Passion Play, we leave Eureka Springs and head to Branson, Missouri, where we'll be staying for the next few days. We'll be staying in the Clarion Hotel there, and this brings us to the end of day 3.